Good morning, everybody, and welcome to PSG of Mercer County. The Professional Service Group of Mercer County is a group that is here for you to help you be more efficient and more effective with your own job search. And also, as I always say, happy Aloha Friday. And for those of you I'm meeting for the first time, a few people visiting us today for the first time, yes, I do know I'm wearing an Aloha shirt. Yes, I know it is, at best business casual. It's just what I like to do on a Friday. And by the way, in Hawaii, their business casual is Aloha Friday. They wear Aloha shirts in the office. So we can do that here, especially since we have nice warm weather today. And so some of you I do see have your floral or colorful shirts. You may not have realized, but you're actively celebrating that way with us. And in addition, happy National Pecan Day. I'm not sure if it's pecan or pecan. I guess it depends on what part of the country you live in. Either way, they're tasty. So it allows us to celebrate the only nut that's actually native to the United States. Currently, there are a lot of nuts that are grown in the United States, almonds in California and others, but native pecans are native. Peanuts are not nuts. They're called legumes. They're seeds. They're grown in the ground. Pecans, like others, are grown in trees. So National Pecan Day today. And so if you have any pecans at home or want to go to the pastry shop nearby and pick up something, I'm sure you'll enjoy that. So the Professional Service Group is here for anyone that is in any career transition. As I've talked before, it's to help you become more efficient and more effective in your own job search. So we don't directly coach you, but we do provide a lot of information and guidance through our resources and the programs that we offer. And among the resources that we do have our LinkedIn group. So certainly being a professional in job search, you should be on LinkedIn and have a profile and have it match and discuss a lot about you. We could talk more about LinkedIn a little bit later offline. But in our LinkedIn, we do have a LinkedIn group. The name of our LinkedIn group is PSG of Mercer County. So if you are not yet a member of our LinkedIn group, I encourage you to go search for the group and press the join button. And when that happens, we actually will put you in pending status. You won't be accepted immediately because what we will do is look at our attendance rolls, whether from the laptop that we use here or from people that have signed on to our meetings online. The reason why is we only accept people into our group, in our LinkedIn group, that have been to at least one of our in-person meetings. When we do that, because we are a group of people that we really understand the value of connecting and speaking with people who are in a job search. We're trying just to keep the list collectors, the name collectors, the spammers all out of our group who may be trying to reach us for only their own benefit. We have over 1,700 members in our LinkedIn group. If you ever have a question about something in job search, you can post it there. Or maybe as you're doing your own job search, you come across a company you'd like to learn more about, and somebody in our LinkedIn group either does or did work there, and contact them. You can ask them more information, help you with your own research. It could be very beneficial. And there's a very good chance that those people will contact you back, where people that are more strangers to you would not be as free or willing to do so. People in job search usually understand the importance of staying connected in job search. So do take a look, and when you can, share articles, links, posts, be active on LinkedIn. One easy thing you can do is if you read a really nice post, you can even just put a comment, even something like, "Thank you for sharing," or "I found this very interesting," something very simple before you really are comfortable maybe posting. Or you got an email last week of a terrific job description that is not in your service area and completely out of town. It's just wrong for you, but it sounds terrific. Take that email, copy all the text, and paste it into the LinkedIn group. Offer it to other people in job search. It does two things. You're helping others, and also you're helping yourself, because LinkedIn likes active people on LinkedIn. And when people are searching for someone like you, searching for accountant or salesperson, or whatever, you want to come up higher in the search result list, like higher on the Google search pages. And LinkedIn likes active people. They come up higher than people that are lower. There are other rules as well, but that's one that's important. In addition, we have our website. Our website is psgofmercercounty.org, psgofmercercounty.org. Go check it out. It is more than a landing page. It is more than a landing site. It is over 120 web pages of content. There's a tremendous amount of information that we've created over the years, and we continue to do so. For example, one section, we have a menu along the top. There's a menu item called Career Options. And the Career Options menu item gives you different ways of kind of getting started in job search, different paths. Maybe what you want to do is you're here to get started. You want to learn. You haven't job hunted in a while. You want to learn some of the strategies now. There's some sections about that. Maybe you're interested in shifting from full-time employed work to full-time consulting or part-time consulting work. How do you become a consultant? There's actually a section about that. You might be interested in starting a business or buying a franchise. There's a lot of information that's there. Not all of it is relevant to you. And it's not the be-all, end-all of every topic, but it's a great place of getting started. So check the career options. You may find some interesting information. So in just a moment, I am going to turn over our presentation to Janelle. And Janelle does not have a slide deck to share. She's going to be talking to us, a friend talking to a friend, and she is one of the friendliest people you'll ever meet. So right now, she is everybody's friend. Probably at the top of your screen, you have a link that says maybe all cameras or active cameras or see everyone. What you're going to want to do is click on that. You'll have some options and change it to view who's talking. I think that's what the exact option is. View who's talking. Oh, a little background noise. And then that way what will happen is your whole screen will be Janelle. So it'll be like she's in the room with you. And you'll be able to see her and hear her presentation that way. For those of you online with a question, you can do so a couple of ways. You can quickly unmute and just say, "Excuse me, Janelle, I have a question." If you are a little shy, you can post your question in chat. This is, again, for being online. And precede it with the word question. We'll be monitoring the chat, but we don't want to miss the question from all the other introductions that people do. And so post the question there, and Alan, Bill, or I will read that on your behalf. For those of you in the room, just raise your hand, and I will get Janelle's attention. And so we can do that just as easily. And also, for those of you in the room, if you don't mind, and even if you do mind, please use the microphone to ask your question. The reason why is we want to make sure that people virtually can hear the question as well. And so just the courtesy for that. So that is where we are. And yes, we are recording this program, so it will be available probably by, if not this afternoon, tomorrow in our website on our YouTube channel. Look at our YouTube channel. And with that, I'm very happy to say that PSG of Mercer County is pleased to welcome back Janelle Razzino. Janelle, the president and CEO of Razzino Associates, Inc. It's a boutique firm and premier search organization. She brings 30 years of experience in corporate recruiting and management, specializing in C-level, executive level, and mid-level placements for the Fortune Global 200 marketplace. Her firm's core disciplines are accounting, finance, and information technology, and she also places candidates in marketing, sales, HR, and business development. Janelle is a regular speaker. She's a tireless speaker, a regular speaker at many corporate outplacement firms and networking groups. She's the founder of the Hillsdale Network Career Resource Ministry in Hillsdale, New Jersey, which now includes over 1,900 members. She has also presented programs to students and professors at Mount St. Vincent College in New York, County College of Morris, and Bergen Community College, and has been a guest on the talk radio show Your Career is Calling, broadcast live Sunday mornings from Rider University. Janelle also shares her expertise through a comprehensive 6-week and 3-week coaching programs for candidates to boost their self-confidence and sharpen their interview skills. So PSG of Mercer County is pleased to welcome the energetic, passionate, friendly, and refreshingly honest Janelle Razzino. Good morning, Janelle.
Good morning, Dave. How are you?
I'm well, and how are you today?
Very good. Thank you for having me. As always, I look forward to this particular meeting. There are a lot of exciting people, new people that I don't get to see. So for all the new people, thank you for coming. I know I do see some friendly faces this morning as well. John, you know, I think you're my biggest fan, John. But, and Nancy, always with that beautiful smile. Carol, thank you for coming again. I always appreciate it. So this morning's topic, What's My Line, is about you. It is always about you, but what's my line? What do people want to know about you? What do you want to tell people? What have you accomplished in your illustrious careers that really stands out? And what is it that you want people to know? But before I get into all of that, I have a couple of stories for you this morning. Back in, I would say mid last year, 2022, I was working on a role, and the CIO called and said, Janelle, I think we've located a candidate so you could stop working on the role. I think we've located someone, and I think we're about to make an offer. I said, no problem. I think that's a great idea. It was a difficult IT role. So maybe 3 weeks in, I got another call from the CIO. And he said, you know that role you were working on? Well, I want you to work it. I want you to start working on it again. Apparently, a candidate that was interviewed by 6 different people were all in unison with hiring the individual, loved him, loved the background, was articulate, passed all the reference checks, everything was perfect, and an offer was made. Got the offer letter, did the background check, and on October 1, the candidate showed up, and it was a different person. So the CIO looked at the individual and said, well, wait, you are not the person that we interviewed on Zoom. He said, well, I have the offer letter and I am Joe Smith and I'm supposed to start today. So here we have a situation where the person is not who they say they are. And that's a big problem. They weren't sure how to handle, so they went to HR. They went to the attorney, I guess, legal counsel, and what is it that they can do? So to start working on the job again. That is an extreme situation. A very, very short time ago, a client of mine over at Goldman hired an intern. And the intern was very vivacious, was looking very forward to working as an internship within Goldman. But my contact had to go out to California for a couple of days to meet with a client. By the way, I don't know who this candidate was that they hired as an intern, but he went out to the West Coast and he had let the intern know that while I'm away, do a couple of these projects, which were quite easy, and I left him alone. Checked in with him a couple times a day. Well, apparently a colleague had gone up to the floor, opened up his door, and the intern was sleeping in his chair. And the colleague said, what are you doing? And, of course, he woke up, was startled. So I guess the reason why I tell you these stories is because are we really who we say we are? And how comfortable are we with what we present? And I've always believed that you should talk about you, be your real self, be the person that you need to be in an environment, but also be in a role that you really love, right? Because when you're most comfortable, when you're the happiest, is when you perform the best. And that's when we can all talk about what you really like, who you are, why you like this role, what happens, where have I been in my career to get me to this point, and why I'm very good at it, and why you should hire me. So those are a couple of things I want to talk about today. I am certain that you've all been in a hiring position, to hire people. Dave, did I just see your hand go up?
I'm sorry, what was the question?
Did I just see your hand go up?
Did it?
I thought, sorry.
No, I smiled at you. Does that count?
All right, you did. Okay. We've all been probably told ad nauseum, when you create your resume, when you create a summary or a picture of yourself, both on LinkedIn and on your resume, that they should be accurate, they should be comparable, they should look like each other fairly well, and creating your own resume that looks like you. And what does that mean? How do you create a resume that looks like you? So if you sit and talk about or write down a list of adjectives that people have described you as, what would they say? People you've worked with, people that you report to, people that have been in your life, what would they say about you? That is the best gauge of what you might incorporate or blend in on the resume. Alan, can I ask a question? All right, no worries, I can wait.
Yeah, Janelle.
Yeah, there's no
All right,
question. There was from one person who was asking if you could speak louder, but it may be a local speaker problem, her volume.
All right, I think my volume is pretty high up. You can't hear me?
Yeah, we hear you fine. No one else is reporting an issue. So let's,
All
I
right.
guess, do our best. Yep.
All right, so my question was to Alan Krishner.
Could you repeat the question?
Yeah, well, I'm going to ask him, is he on? Can he hear me? All right, so Alan, if I were to ask you, give me a word that you would describe yourself and that you would put in your resume, like an adjective, a really strong adjective.
He said dedicated.
All right, dedicated. Would that be a word that a good friend would use for you in describing if it were a friend?
Oh, I see. Okay, it's me.
Can you hear me now, Janelle?
I can.
Yes, that would be.
All right, that would be a word that somebody would just describe. Hopefully, you've used the word dedicated and a few others in your resume to describe a little bit about who you are. Not always about the skills, right? I'm a dedicated individual. I am 100% invested. I am, driven. I'm 100% driven. Words like that in a resume always give an individual a little sense of who the person is, not just skill-wise or background-wise. Nancy, give me a word that describes you.
It's always hard to come. Well, it's not one word. Could it be a hyphenated word?
Of course.
Like detail oriented?
Detail oriented. All right. So if your friend was introducing you, would they say my friend
No.
is very detail oriented?
No, they'd
No.
probably say that I'm caring. I care about other people.
All right, so you're very caring, very nurturing. So what I get to here is, who are you in an interview? Do we only talk about my skills, my background? Um, do we create a resume that talks a little bit about you, that talks a little bit about the type of person you are? Because we should. Nothing has to be always about, I'm a great finance individual. I've done FP&A. I've worked my entire career. You can get into a lot of the background, but talk a little bit about yourself. The one thing today that I see so much out there when I'm doing recruiting is that people don't talk about themselves at all. They're nervous. Why be nervous? Why not tell somebody you're a Packer fan or a Giant fan? Why not tell someone that you have, love for gardening? I remember a panel of 6 people. One of those people was a candidate of mine, and the company started with person number 1, and they said, "Tell me something about yourself outside of the workplace." And I think that everyone's face dropped except my candidate, because my candidate was very informed that we need to know a little bit about who we are. So her answer to the interviewer was, "I'm a quilter. I love to quilt." Now, I had no idea what a quilter was, but it's someone who is able to see or vision what a quilt looks like before the patches are sewn together. And that's a very big attribute for any project manager, is to be able to see what the project's going to look like. To be able to architect a pattern before it even is created was a very big point made with the interviewer. At any rate, Allison got the job because she knew what was important to her and what she loved. So what do we love outside of the workplace? John, what do you love?
Red Sox.
The Red Sox. All right. So you love the Red Sox. Well, don't worry. The Yankees will kick your ass. All right. So anyway, so you might have a conversation about sports. You might have a conversation about, your favorite sports team, what you love. Maybe you see something in the person's eye, that relates to something right away and becomes engaging. Who are you is what they want to know. Who are you? I don't want a person walking in the door telling them I'm the person you hired and it's a completely different person. I don't want you walking in the door knowing that you aced the interview, got the job offer, and all of a sudden you're in over your head. Or the job is just not enough. Those problems do exist. And that's why I always say, let people know who you are. Is your career story plausible? Develop on your resume an accurate record of your employment history. I see and hear a lot, during the year, that there are people that have gaps in their resume, people that have been out of work. COVID destroyed, 90% of the workforce. People were home with their, elderly parents. They were caregivers. All of that belongs in a resume. if there were gaps in your employment. Those are very important pieces to your history. Don't leave something out because you think it's not relevant. We can always talk about what we did, 20 years ago. Most of that is unimportant. But if you feel you need to make reference to it, put one line on the bottom that says earlier relevant experience or other irrelevant experience, because we want people to know who we are. I don't want any of you to create a resume that says you started your career in 2010 to present by leaving off all the little messy bits when we first started our career. So one line, other relevant experience. There's a lot of talk out there about, should I put my dates on? Should I leave my dates off? Again, that's going to be up to you. But if I represent you and your resume says I started my career in 2010, and clearly you started your career in 94 or before, I want to know that. And I want my client to know that, because age is a strength. It's not a weakness. Age is a strength. All right, so where am I now? And how did I get here? That could be a prelude to your introduction when you are in an interview. This is where I am. This is how I got here. But let me tell you a little bit about myself first. I'm here in the interview to be able to present to you my qualifications for this great role. And delivery is everything, as you know. Are you confident enough to know that this is a role that makes perfect sense for you? Are you confident you can do the job? What can you do to make the job even more valuable? So all of these things, before you start to interview, you want to say to yourself, what do I want that individual to know about me, both personally and professionally? Give them a nice, quick timeline. And you don't have to start when you left college, but give them a nice, quick, short timeline about where you've been. But again, first talk about you, your past and present contributions, achievements, and expectations for the future. One of the questions that continues to come up in an interview is, so Bobby, tell me about your weaknesses. And I don't know why that question comes up. I think it's a ridiculous question. I would always answer that question with, well, my only weakness is you better hide the chocolate when I start. That's what I would say. Because again, at this stage of the game, we'd like to think, and this is how I would answer. I'd like to think at this stage of the game, I have made, my weaknesses are behind me. I've left them all behind. The reason being is I've come all this way with experiences. I've come all this way with making mistakes, correcting those mistakes. And now in front of you, I would like to think that I give you the best person who can contribute to this role in the best way. I don't think it's a fair question. I don't think it's a question that is, well, again, this is my opinion. I don't think it's a professional question. I think if the question is, Sandy, tell me about your strengths, I think that would be the question. They do ask both, but ask about your strengths. I think that's a better way. So anybody ask you about your weaknesses, let them know. You're saying, I really don't have any, but I've done all of that. And now I'd like to think that I'm bringing you the best version of myself to the interview. Let them know what you've achieved. let them know what you've contributed. Be proud of those accomplishments and all of the big projects you've done. And don't be afraid to tell people how good you really are. And you can deliver that message beautifully.
So
Dave,
Janelle,
any-
there's a question. I think it's in response to weaknesses. So it's from Bobby. Are they looking to see if you can look at yourself objectively?
No. Bobby, what they're looking at is to eliminate you. Why should we tell anybody about a weakness we have, either personal or business-wise? Why? Why should we tell them that? Why? Because you feel that, oh my God, I better answer the question? No. First of all, you don't have any weaknesses at this point. I just told you, mine's chocolate. That's it. I don't have any weaknesses.
Well, yours is Maverick also.
What, Dave?
That's her dog. That's her dog.
I mean, in all seriousness, Bobby, do you really think you have any weaknesses at this point?
And Bobby, you can unmute if you'd like and have the conversation with Janelle.
Well, I guess I'm not perfect. So,
Sure you are. Of course you are. Do you really think you have any weaknesses in the job search or in it when you approach your job? Do you really think you have any weaknesses? I mean, you have a lot of experience, I'm sure,
yeah.
and a lot of value to add. Probably you have so much value that you probably have forgotten most that people will ever learn. So where's the weakness?
Yeah.
Right? So are you perfect? Well, nobody's perfect, but I'll bet in your role you are. You know, every day I hear something new, I learn something new. I see stranger things than I've ever thought I could see after COVID. But, you know, do I have any weaknesses? No. Could you go toe to toe with anybody, your business, and come out the best winner?
Maybe, depending on what it was. Yeah.
All right. So the answer to that question is yes, I can. Because I'm great at what I do. And I'll go toe to toe with you any day of the week. That's how you should answer, or that's how you should think. Right? We're all good and great at what we do. Just because some of you are looking for a new role, and that new role has to be something that you're very, very, very definitive about what you want. There's no one that's going to stop you, and no one's going to be better than you. Did that answer your question?
Yes, it does.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, wonderful.
So
Dave,
Janelle,
any other questions? Yeah.
yeah.
I like the
So-
attitude. I think that's a really good attitude to have. And I think if you have that attitude, you will show confidence. And I think that's a good value to show.
It is.
Yeah, it's a good way to look at it.
It is.
So Janelle, I'm hearing, even in this question or the discussion about that question, kind of a little bit of an undertone. And what I'm getting out of it is a lot of interviewers, whether hiring managers or HR, are not good at interviewing. And so it could be that they fall back on the same dumb questions that they got when they were interviewed. Maybe they're not well prepared, you know, whatever the issue is. And so the thing I think we need to be aware of is we'll get some questions that are dumb, politely,
Right.
hopefully not illegal. And we still need to be prepared to have an answer. So whether you want to talk about a weakness or whether you want to pivot to a strength, you still need to come up with an answer because they're expecting one. I'm just curious what your experience has shown.
All right. So again, the way I would answer that question, or any of you could answer that question, is I'd like to think that any mistakes, any hurdles that I've had to confront are all behind me, because they really are. And I really would like to bring all of my knowledge and all of my background to an organization like this and be the best person in the role to bring you value like you've never seen. I mean, you could deliver that message any way you want. So you're not telling anybody about a weakness, but you're telling them why you are a great candidate and that, all my mistakes are behind me. And there's nothing wrong with that answer. We just need to feel a little more confident in what we say, a little more gravitas. That's a good word about why we're here and what I can do for you. Because isn't that what we all want to say? What I can do for you, but say it with confidence. Let them know your trajectory in your career. I started here, I went here, right? Upward mobility, promotions, increases. Let them know you didn't have, if you had any blips on the screen, fine. But let them know your trajectory in your career. Someone told me a very long time ago that in order for us to get paid, a number is based on our experience, right? We get promoted, our experience level, the number of years, and our value is based on the number that the people have given us in terms of a paycheck. So people that have exploded their careers, moved up very quickly, salaries went through the roof. Well, again, all of that is very important for us to remember, because those achievements, those accomplishments become very important when they're assessing, okay, what level do we bring you in at? Again, who you are and what's your line is very important to how you convey that to the person in front of you when you're interviewing. Again, make sure that the role that you are going for is the right opportunity. Don't go into opportunities that don't make any sense or that are too low in the food chain that you won't be happy with. I don't want anybody going to a new job and regretting the fact on Sunday night that, oh my God, Monday's coming. That's not how you should feel. We know a lot of people who have done exactly that and have left their jobs after 3 months and have come back to, come to me and said, Janelle, I was very unhappy in my role. It was far beneath me. I had one person write to me in an email and said, I'm a bank teller, where in the past, she has been a very big, heavyweight financial kind of client contact, had 3 clients, making a lot of money. And just to take a job, she took a bank teller's role. Well, why the hell did you do that? Because every minute of every day, she regrets it. So look at roles that make perfect sense for you, so you'll be happy.
There is a
Dave,
question
you have a
in
question?
Yeah, there is. So it says, this is from Michael, unrelated to the subject matter. I noticed you have photos of Vince Lombardi in your office. What are attributes of Coach Lombardi that you admire most? She's a big Packers fan.
Okay, so what is an attribute of Vince Lombardi that I love most? Michael, he was a, do you really want me to answer that?
Well, I don't know, maybe this is our commercial break?
Um,
And keep your discussion of the Green Bay Packers down to, well under 10 minutes.
I will keep it well under 30 seconds. Michael, that's a great question, by the way. I think one of the biggest attributes I loved about Vince, that I loved about him, or even today, is that he was himself. He did not take any bullshit. He took his players and he took that team and that attitude to winning stardom because of his attitude, because of what he believed in himself and what he believed in his players. No one on that team was below standard ever. Ever. He wanted everyone to be at this standard and never lowered the bar, ever. And he was an advocate both on the field and off the field for his players. So that's what I most admired.
Thank you.
And how did you see that? Did you see that picture?
It's behind you. Yeah, there's Vince Lombardi behind you and a couple of other Green Bay things.
Oh, yeah.
There's a question in the room here.
Hi, Janelle. This is Bill Pagula.
Hi, Bill.
Hi. My question is kind of related to what you've been talking about, but a lot of it implies that a lot of what you said and what we've talked about implies that the person knows really what they want to do. How do you counsel someone who has been in the workplace, has done a number of different roles, and thinks, that is a strength, but I've seen people lead with that. And I guess I'm guilty of that too. How do you pick one?
How do you pick one?
Well, you need to go after a role.
Yes.
I think some people haven't gotten to that point in their thought process yet.
You are absolutely correct. I get a lot of candidates that come at this time in their careers and say, I'm not sure what I want to do. So I look at their backgrounds. We talk a little bit about what they love. I talk a little bit about what part of their career they really enjoyed. And I kind of try to squeeze it into a nice, lane where I can kind of focus on what they really liked. What part of their career they enjoyed the most. What role did they enjoy the most? And I think enjoyment and what made you happy is where you begin. So when you talk to me about certain things, and when you talk to me about, I really loved, creating this spectrum in this company. It was a fantastic project. You light up like a Christmas tree. And so now I start to narrow in on what would be a good path, or at least a path for you to try to go down. A lot of people today, I'm not sure I want to go back, to corporate America. Maybe I'll be an entrepreneur. Maybe I'll be an intrapreneur. Maybe I will do something, entirely different, not for profit, education. So there's a lot of avenues for all of you to go down today, especially when your heart and your gut are telling you certain things. So pick a lane, pick a strength, pick something you loved, and pick something that makes you joyful when you're talking about it. Hey, Bill, do you have a dog?
Not at this time. We've had dogs in the past.
All right. So when you talked about your dogs, how did it make you feel?
Oh, it was good. It was kind of an emotional conversation as opposed
Right.
to logical.
Right. Now, I'm not saying that you need to be a dog walker, but you know the feeling, right? Right. I'm not saying, and by the way, you know what, Dave, I'm going to tell that story.
Okay.
Did I answer your question, by the way?
Yes, thank you.
You're welcome. Dave, I'm going to tell the story. So a salesman comes walking into my office and he was referred to me. And I think that's a great story for everybody. He comes walking into the office and he's a salesman. He was referred to me by someone else. So I made time, came in. He said, Janelle, I need something more. I've been a salesman, track lighting, fans. I've sold batteries, and I just need something. I don't know what else to do. But Mary Smith told me that I need to talk with you, so that's why I'm here. And I could see that his whole persona, all his body language was very depressing. He was depressing. So we talked a little bit about it, and I said, what do you love? He said, what do I love? I said, yeah, what do you love on the weekends? What do you love, when you go home? He said, he goes, oh, that's easy. He said, I walk dogs at the shelter on the weekend. So from Friday through Sunday, he walks the shelter dogs and absolutely loves it. And you could see all of a sudden, the smile on his face was as big as a tree. So I said, okay. So I said, do you like to sell? He said, I do. He said, I feel like I'm good at it. I said, well, you got a couple choices. One, why don't you become a dog walker? At the time, we had 2 golden retrievers, Nikki and Sam. And I remember that I could have bought a new BMW for the amount of money I paid the dog walker. So I said, why don't you become a dog walker? He said, I would do it, but you have to build up a clientele and get a license, and I just don't have that kind of time. All right. So I said, well, how about this? How about we go sell dog food, pet food? There are plenty of pet food companies, both on the West Coast and the East Coast. And I'll bet if you wrote a cover letter to every one of them, I would bet that they will answer you, especially if you put in the cover letter that you have a love of pets and what you do on the weekend. So Neil wrote cover letters to every pet food company on the East Coast and the West Coast. 6 weeks later, Neil called and said, Janelle, I have an interview. I can't believe it. I said, oh my God, it's fantastic. Tell me where. JetBlue Airlines. I said, JetBlue Airlines? He said, apparently one of my cover letters ended up on the desk of human resources at JetBlue Airways by chance, and they are looking for a cargo pet handler for JetBlue Airways. I go, I'm like stunned. I said, so it just ended up arbitrarily on somebody's desk. Well, I would bet that somebody's relative gave that person this resume. Well, needless to say, Neil went in on the interview, aced the interview, and that was 9 years ago. And Neil is still he's a top level guy now at JetBlue in the pet handling cargo area and doing exactly what he loves, handling the pets.
So now he's a big dog.
Now he's a big dog. That's right. Now he's a big dog. He runs with the little dogs and the big dogs. So you see, you never know what the love that you have in your gut will do for your future, successes. Any other did I answer? Okay, so that's my story. Dave, any other questions?
Not in chat. How about in the room? Anybody got a question for Janelle? Great
Janelle, it's
resource.
John. I'm wondering about the situation where a person like you comes to us and says, "I got a good spot for a name Verizon, and looks like you, blah blah blah." Um, you're listening to this and you're saying to yourself, "Gee, I got 4 friends who work there." What should we as potential candidates do in that situation?
You mean if you are looking at Verizon as a potential company,
Right, you
John,
brought
and
it
you
up.
have 4 people?
You have a spot. Call me up and say, "John, Verizon, this, that, and the other thing." And I know I got people there who I know. One, do I tell you about it? Or two, when we explore this and it really looks good and you put my candidacy forward, help us out there.
All right. Well, all right. So the first thing you need to do is tell me that you do have people in Verizon that you do know. My next question to you is, have you reached out for them? I'm not so concerned about you applying beforehand. That doesn't bother me. Or if you haven't applied beforehand, if you want me to represent you, I would do it. So the 4 people that you know there, hopefully they're in line with what you're looking at or in the same area, or even if they're not, they could potentially be an advocate, a positive advocate. So make sure if you're using a recruiter and I have a role and you know people in a company, make sure you let the recruiter know, that I do have potential people that I could reach out to. If you have already applied, again, do the same thing. Reach out to the people that you know so that they can be an advocate for you. Again, if you like them, don't bombard the people, but just let them know. So I've applied to this role. It's probably not under your purview. However, can you tell me a little bit about that, department or area or whatever? Does that answer your first part, John?
Yes.
How about the second part?
Yeah. There's always this who can represent us better in a particular company. And the fact of the matter is, you really don't know, because a person like you may have a real relationship with that company and can leverage it. But two, your brother-in-law is a senior vice president of an area that you're talking to and could do something. Not to be confused with will do something, but could do something.
Well, that's exactly right. Because we've seen a lot of those scenarios too, where they don't
I
help.
guess, we're always looking for these relationships in companies, and they come a bunch of different ways, including through folks like yourself.
No, it's true. Just a little bit about that, John. We've been very, very busy, and we have roles in places that I never thought these roles would even exist. There are roles out there that people don't even know what to call them. There are roles that companies can't write descriptions for. You have to be ultra creative today yourself. You have to be ultra understanding of what you want. What you want is key today to looking at a role and getting the role that makes the most sense. And you have to know what you want. A lot of people don't know what they want. And that's why we're here, right? That's why our network groups are here. That's why people like Dave and you and so many others can help in determining what that role is. That is extremely key.
Yeah.
Does that help, John?
Yeah, but it goes to another subject that you were talking about before, and that is knowing what you want. A lot of us see things that are sort of what we want, but definitely not perfect, at least as described. I wonder what you thought about the idea of get in there and talk and see what happens.
Yeah, I mean, we in the past we used to talk about exploratory interviews. Today I think, the interviewing process or the chatting a little bit about, who I am and what I'd like to do. I think it's gone by the wayside a little bit. Everything is very transactional today. You yourself, anybody here today knows that they want to, do I want a full-time permanent job or do I want a mid-year refuel, right? Do I just want to take something fractional or part-time or consulting? And I think those are the kinds of things that we have to know about ourselves. If you can have a conversation with an organization and say, talk to me a little bit about, what your requirements in terms of, part-time, full-time consulting or fractional, make, do you have those options? Do you have those potentials, within a company? Are those opportunities, do they exist? I mean, I see them all the time. So you need to inquire, really, but always identify first what you want instead of saying or getting in a position that says, I want this, I want this, I want this, I want this. Or I'll just take anything because people do that too.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
We do have a question in the room, Janelle.
Good morning, Janelle. My name is Rory. It's a pleasure meeting you, and thank you for sharing today. I wanted to go back to something hi. I wanted to go back to something you said earlier, and this is just something that's been occurring with a bunch of individuals that I work with. We were recently just displaced, and you could look, there were so many people displaced, you could see the numbers and the ages of people. And so you talk about age is your strength, but when you are now on the latter part of your life, let's just say, or your career, how do you reposition that so that when you're sitting in front of someone or, trying to really put your best foot forward and you know a lot and you have a lot to offer, how do you overcome those types of situations so that you do present yourself in a confident way? I'd love to hear your thoughts on that.
Lori, great question. All right, so I'm thinking that the interviewer says, well, tell me what happened in your last job.
Oh, you want me to tell you?
No.
Oh, okay.
That's a question that might be asked of you.
Yeah, so I have a exit statement as far as what I say. 27% of us were laid off, et cetera, et cetera. So I'm good there. I think the big thing is just you're looking across the table or the Zoom meeting or you're not even getting spoken to because potentially what your age appears to be on your resume.
Okay, but you're in the door.
Let's just hypothetically, yes, I'm in the door.
Okay.
And
So
how do you present? You're in the door and you're, looking across the table or the Zoom meeting to people who are, potentially much younger than you. And how do you?
All right. All right. So I will tell you a great.
Not act old.
No. I get it. I will tell you a great way to break that. They smile. Everybody says, smile that you'll disarm anybody in an interview. That's true. But the first thing you want to do is you want to compliment the person. Compliment the person first. So let's say So let's say I'm 50 and I'm talking to somebody that's 27. So the first thing I'm going to say to somebody is, and it doesn't matter if it's a guy or a gal, or other, we want to say, so it's amazing that I'm in front of you today. You must have so much experience. You're saying this to the interviewer. Tell me a little bit about how you got here. That's very important to me. All of a sudden, this person in front of you that's much younger is going to say, wow, somebody wants to know about me. Compliment the person first. Give them a reason to like you a lot. And the way you do that is by complimenting an individual, right? Even when you write your introductions, first thing you want to do, compliment the person. Get them to feel like, wow, I'm really happy this person asked me about me. Forget the age, Lori. Don't worry about the age. It's your attitude, right? It's your confidence. It's the attitude in which you deliver that message. Does that help?
Yes, thank you.
I mean, is it something that you think you can do?
Absolutely.
It is, right? It's,
It goes back to your what's my line about loving what you do and having passion behind it. And so it's about having that confidence that you can manage the situation, and you are the right person for the position. And so when you feel that way, and less in the frightened I need a job way, it comes across a lot stronger. And I like the idea of complimenting the person, not necessarily on what they're wearing, but on how they got there and what's been their success and that sort of thing. So I appreciate that.
Right, because they would love to tell you how I got here. Right? They would love to tell you that. Can you remember, just one more thing, can you remember a time when you met someone? Maybe you had a luncheon, maybe you were at a fair, maybe you were at a volunteer, and your friend came up to you and said, Mary really enjoyed you. You were so engaging, you were so caring. Have you been in that kind of a situation before? I'm sure you have. That attitude. Okay, so that energy being generated towards another person is exactly the energy that gets generated to the person that's interviewing you. It's a feel good. It's a warm feeling. And when we get to feeling those warm feelings, we like you. Would you agree?
Yes.
Right. So try it. Just try it one time. Excuse me. Dave, anything else?
There's nothing in the chat. Any questions for Janelle in the room while we're all together? So, no, the floor is still yours if you'd like.
Dave, I'm sorry?
Well, the camera is still yours, not just the floor.
All right, that's fine. So, we've been successful 25, 30, 35, 40 years. What makes you think you will not continue to be successful in the rest of your career, no matter how long that is? Right? We've been very successful all this time. What makes you think we won't be successful moving on in whatever that role is? You know what you're doing. You know the answers. Have tremendous confidence in all of that. One of the things I have heard is that, I want to try something new. I want to try something new and exciting and something I've never tried before. So, all right, well, my attitude is if you can't sing, why become an opera singer? Why don't we stay with things that we truly love and truly like and are truly good at? Let's try to stay into some similar path. We can all get creative. We can all understand, where we're going with the knowledge that we have. So why don't we stand true to, again, who we are, what we do, because we've been good at it all this time. Everybody laughs at me and says, when people say to me, what are you going to do when you leave this business? And I'm not quite sure when that's going to be because I love it too much. My husband knows it. And everybody here at the office knows it. They tell me, when are you taking vacation? I don't know. But everybody knows how much I do love this business and how invested I am in each and every person every single day, every interview, every Zoom, everything. So why should I retire? Or why should I move on to something new? But the day I do, for me, it's the food truck, right? I already know that. I want to invest in a food truck and make everything eggplant. Now, if I was in an interview, I may say that. First of all, it'll get everybody hungry for food. Number two, it's a piece of myself that I want to give of myself to tell you where I am when I'm done. And that's where my heart is. That's where my gut is. So when you decide what avenue you want to pursue, if it's way out of your comfort zone, maybe rethink it or kind of rearrange it a little bit, but go after something that you already know. I think you'll be better off on that. So when we talk about the promotions, the accomplishments, when we talk about the trajectory, when we talk about how good we really are, what do we know about those particular achievements? Have you written them down? Do you make a note of them? Do you make an exciting story about what happened? And by the way, while I was at XYZ company, I started a new revenue stream. Everybody's so concerned about the bottom line revenue. We have a role right now in-house that is with a company that has a great product line. And the product line is kind of like it's doing well, but they want to see if we can attract someone who can build other revenue streams for the product line, to get another revenue stream going. Now that role, you could write whatever description you want. Nobody seems to know how to write that description, by the way. But that's a role that's very interesting. So we spoke to a candidate not that long ago who I thought was quite innovative and is perfect for this type of conversation. So how many of you own a crock pot? Probably a lot. I know I do.
A couple of hands went up here.
Okay, so there are 60 million crock pots in the country today. It's probably could be a little more. 60 million people bought crock pots over time. My crock pot has been sitting in my closet for a long time because I never knew how to cook in it.
Does it fit in your food truck?
Dave, I'm going to put it in the food truck.
Okay, good.
So, because I'm the one on Sunday morning who gets up and starts, making meatballs and brajol and everything else on a Sunday morning. So this person worked for the company that sold crock pots. And when we found out how he developed a new revenue stream for the firm, he said, we decided to send everyone that had a crock pot that we were aware of on our list, and we decided to send them a food recipe kit to each and every one of those crock pot users for free. So now they have these wonderful recipes with the kit, with everything in it, and let them try to use it, see how it came out, and then get them on subscription for the food plans. Now that to me was quite innovative because crockpot sales were plateauing and they needed to juice up that revenue. So what do? Create a new revenue stream with the recipes. So you're the crockpot, right? You're at this point looking for a new role, looking to, create a little higher level. What are we going to add to you to create something better, something more, something exciting, something fun? You need to be exciting. You need to be fun, right? You need to be someone that someone wants to talk to. So when we create ideas in our mind, how can I take my experience and move it into another direction? It's like the subscription with the food plans for the crock pots.
It's a terrific story, and I started thinking as you were telling it, a story that happened to my nephew. He's at the time, he's with his company about 4 years now. At the time, he was a new hire, a marketing student, becoming a new hire, and he was learning the work, learning the job. And he found out by working with a lot of salesmen at the company that their own process was inefficient. And so he began talking to the IT people about streamlining the process, and they said, we can do it. And then he talked to the salespeople and found out what their pains were and how to improve it. And he made a proposal for his company. And they liked the idea. So now it's a few years later, and working for the CIO, he's a product manager internally of this product that makes the salespeople more efficient. So, he found a new use for the crock pot.
There you go. That's exactly the story. That's exactly what should happen. We don't give ourselves enough credit, Dave. All of us. We don't give ourselves enough credit on a daily basis. We are all very smart people. We all have excellent gifts, talents. You were given them, right? We were given certain attributes, whether it was the, gift of gab or mechanical engineering or a mathematician's mind or whatever it is. We were given gifts that we've been using every day. And we need to continue to use them and to expand them, especially this generation, and to help others, right, in the workforce. We have so much knowledge, so much experience, so much excitement about what we know that we need to give it, to the people behind us. I know that a lot of technology today is taken over with a lot of what we've been talking about. Throwing your resumes into ATS systems. AI is taking over. Digital this, digital that. But no one's taken you over, right? Nobody has digitized you yet, to blend into the wall. You have every opportunity to let people know. One-on-one, network, talking, cold calling, speaking to people that you've never met. I have a secret for you. I'll tell you. I've been doing this a long time. Guest speaking, whether it's in person, to network groups, outplacement companies, colleges, one-on-one radio, the New York Times, CBS World News. I will tell you that every time I do this, I sweat profusely before I get on because I'm so nervous about how this is going to go. Will there be one person or 100? Or somewhere in the middle? Will the message I'm trying to get out, will it get out there in the proper way? I get very nervous, just like we all get nervous, right, when we're interviewing. You know, Lori brought up a very good point before. You know, how do we get that first thing moving? That first, what do we say about our age? You know, let me tell you something. I don't get up at 4 or 3:30 in the morning to go out to a trainer to get moving because I love getting up at that hour. I get up to do it because I know I need to do it, to stay fresh and, you know, and what I call wild, to do what I do every day in this office. You know, to be alert and fun and exciting and learn. So when Lori says, you know, what do I talk about age? Because what do I say about age? Or what will they say about my age? Screw that. It's not about the age. It's about the attitude, about what you can do.
Yeah, it's a very valid and terrific point. You know, we're near the end of our program. There is one more question in chat,
Yes.
so let's address that one more question. It's from Arun. Janelle, how do we create opportunity for us to speak about our achievements if the interviewer doesn't ask suitable questions to bring it out?
Well, all right. So somewhere in the conversation, all right. So let's say I'm, you know, a 21-year-old HR person. I have a checklist in front of me that's this big, and I'm just going to fire questions at you and make the check mark, right? Because I hear that happens a lot. Somewhere in that checklist or in her questioning or his questioning, there will be an opportunity for you to say, before you get to the next question, I just want to give you a little clearer perspective on that point that you make so well, on that question that you just brought up, which is a great question. You have the opportunity to control that interview when it comes to a point of explaining or telling people about your achievements. Take control of the interview and ask them to pause, because that was a very good question you asked. And I'd like to mention a couple of things that may be important to you. Don't be afraid to do it. Do not be afraid. You know, we sometimes we get afraid. Sometimes we get worried about the question. Don't be. Does that help?
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Janelle.
You're very welcome. And don't be embarrassed or afraid, you know, to interject. You are interviewing them just as much as they are interviewing you.
Right, make it a discussion, not just a Q&A.
Right. It will create the discussion, correct.
Terrific. Okay, any other last minute thoughts, folks? Well, I have a last minute thought, which is, Janelle, I am always so appreciative, not just of the information that you have, but your willingness to share it with us and your enthusiasm. Because I always find when hearing you or anyone who's enthusiastic, the information just sinks in better. It just makes sense a little better. And you explain it so well. And I did post Janelle's information in chat. And chat and the video will be available in our website a little bit later, if not by this evening, by tomorrow. But Janelle, thank you so much, as always, for being such a wonderful supporter for, well, job seekers always, but for our group as well. Janelle is all the way in northern New Jersey, and she has been here before, so what a trooper, in person and virtually as well. So we appreciate your continued support and friendship.
David, thank you. And thank you, all of you that came today. I really appreciate it. Have a beautiful weekend.
Yes, thank you so much. It's been great.
So just before we officially close out the meeting, I want to let you know, we are going to keep the virtual session open for those of you online. You can chit chat and network among yourselves. We're going to keep our opportunity to chit chat among ourselves here, but the two groups of us will not be chit chatting with each other. So in person, we'll chit chat with in person, virtual with virtual. Want to let you know what's coming up over the next couple of weeks as well. And so we will be right back here on April 21st. Terry Seaman will be here. I'm so happy that Terry will be coming back. The Resilient Job Seeker. Terry is a coach and supporter also of job seekers and has terrific insights as well. So, so glad that Terry will be here. And also, the following week, April 28th, Coach Ed Samuel will be here. So this seems to be Coach's Month, I guess. Career pivots, the do's and don'ts. And so that's what we'll be talking about in just 2 weeks, so the 21st and the 28th of April. Also, you're welcome to visit, and we encourage you to visit lots of organizations as well. There are lots of groups that are out in the area to help job seekers. Some are virtual, some are in person, some are hybrid. And so go look for those. Among two of our favorites that we like to also talk about, our cousin organizations, PSG of Central New Jersey meets Monday mornings at 10:30, psgcnj.biz, and PSG of Morris County meets on Wednesday mornings. They open their electronic doors at 8:30 and start the meeting at 9:30, psgmc.org. And I hope I said it right. psgcnj.biz is the PSG of Central New Jersey. So feel free to go look for them as well. And both of those are virtual groups. So folks, until we get to see you next time, either virtually or in person or hybrid, we'll simply say, bye everybody.